All right, summer of soccer, it's not over yet, but we're closing in on the finals for Copa America and the Euros. Still no Nick, but still got Mike here. Mike, how are you?
Doing good, man. Just like ODing on some soccer content, but it's a beautiful thing. It's the best game in the world, and we're getting fed right now.
Our friend, good friend of the show, Diego Montalvan, is down in North Kakalaki after a, well, controversial finish to last night's Uruguay-Colombia, and not really anything that happened on the field, but it's pretty much everything that happened off the field that I feel like we're going to talk about today. Diego, welcome back to the program. Welcome back to Providence. How are you?
Thank you, fellas. Thank you. I mean, I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired from last night. Been up all night, obviously with my Colombian friends celebrating their pass to the finals. But honestly, like you guys said, it was honestly, I thought this should have been the final. This should have been the final. I think those two were the two best teams in this Copa America so far. So it was great to see.
Yeah, and you know
Yeah.
it's funny how that worked too, Diego, because I think everybody agrees with you. I think those were the top two teams of this
I was
tournament.
going Argentina, Colombia. I feel like those are the two best teams, personally.
Yeah, I mean Argentina, I don't think has really had an opportunity to showcase it yet because of the quality of their opponent. No disrespect, Diego, but I think because did they face Peru?
They
Did they
did.
face
They
Peru?
did.
Or-
They did.
Yeah, it was Peru.
Yeah. That's why I know Diego is Peruvian. I didn't want to disrespect, but I think because of the quality of their opponent, they haven't really had an opportunity to have that moment where like, oh wow, they really are one of the top teams, even though we know that they're the number one team in the world. But the fact that Colombia, to me, has been, the quality of the opponent has been there. The fact that they haven't lost in 28 matches, Uruguay just really can strike at any moment with the amount of talent that they have, with guys on their team playing in top clubs all over the world. That to me, that semifinal was similar to the Spain-Germany quarterfinal, where you're having two of your best teams of the tournament play before the final. But I mean, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles.
Absolutely, absolutely. I gotta agree with you. I think Argentina didn't face any top opponents. Let's be honest. Peru is on the bottom right now. Chile on the bottom. No disrespect to Canada. I think they look very well considering what they got. But Argentina is Argentina still. I think Argentina still haven't hit full stride. But I don't know if that's because they're holding off or because that's where they're really at right now. I think obviously, they've already won everything that they need to. They don't have nothing to prove, and I feel like maybe they're just it's not as needed. There's no pressure to perform at that top level that they needed to anymore.
Is it easier this summer to point out the disappointing teams between Euro and Copa than it is to figure out who the best team is? Because it feels like the best team list, even before we were talking before the show, feels like the list of best teams in the summer of soccer is shorter than the list of great teams. It feels like, England, as we were talking before the show, wildly has underperformed. France, wildly has underperformed. Obviously, the United States, wildly has underperformed.
Yeah.
Is the list of teams that haven't performed? Poland, I feel like, had a bad Euros. I feel like I expected more to Belgium, the golden generation, quote unquote. Is
Brazil.
The list of Brazil.
The list goes
But
on.
Yeah, so it feels like it's a longer list of teams that didn't show up this summer than the teams that gave us something to remember.
I think with Copa America, we definitely going into the tournament, I feel like we kind of knew who it was that would probably be coming out of the group stage, not making it, and all that. But there's definitely teams that definitely surprised for how low or how low their bar is right now. Brazil being one of them. Obviously, I just think with Brazil, they have no leadership, and I don't think this is their coach's first international coaching job. So I feel like he still doesn't know how to get that work with that how to work with them, because as you know, working at a club level is totally different than working with an international team. At a club level, you see them every day. Internationally, you only get
Right.
2 weeks, if that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you see how it's tough been for Greg Berhalter. I feel like the U.S. never really implemented a system under him. Even with what he did in the World Cup, it was just kind of these guys come in and they're individuals. Even when you look at England, they look like individuals. You're watching. To be honest, the teams that were fun to watch were the teams that you would think were going to stink. Slovakia, Slovenia. Why? They're playing as a unit. They have a system and a style of play that I think that disrupted. For example, they got disrupted by was Slovenia, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's not pretty, but it's effective, which, especially
which is
at
all
the
you need, right? In the summer tournaments.
and you see that in the international tournaments often because of, like Diego said, their lack of training, the time that they have together. You have obviously your coaching staff this is their job full time, so they're prepping and scouting throughout the year, regardless if they have international matches or not. But you need a game plan, and this is where you talk about disappointing teams. I'll even throw Portugal in there. I mean, Portugal was a sexy pick for a lot of people. I mean, talent-wise, they can go player for player, I think, with any team in the world. But unfortunately, it comes back down to Roberto Martinez had no idea what to do with this team. He didn't. I mean, even the friendlies leading up to the Euro Cup, he was still changing formations. He was still changing lineups. That is confusing for guys. And it's like, and then, of
Is he the
course,
most overrated coach in soccer history, Roberto Martinez?
I think it depends how this tenure ends. Because with Belgium, a lot of people can say that he wasted that talent. They don't really have anything to show for anything, no trophies, nothing with Belgium, and now with Portugal, he's inherited arguably the most talented squad that they've ever had, and this is a Euro, a champion from 8 years ago, and again, an early exit, strictly from managerial decisions. I mean, I don't think it's the talent that fell short. I think it was just improper usage of the players that he has.
Is it overrating Roberto Martinez or is it overhyping Roberto Martinez? Because it feels like, during that 2010 World Cup cycle was it 2010 was it
well,
later?
2014 was the year for Belgium. Like that was the year they were supposed
2014 was
and 2018 still too.
But there's that period between 2010 and 2018 where he's coaching at Everton, then he coaches over at Belgium, and then he's on ESPN, and everybody's talking about this guy like he's a genius, right? And it just feels like we've set him up to be the savior for some of these countries or a club or whatever, and he really just doesn't do anything when he gets there.
Right. I know. I do think he's a bit over, and I think it's also because of media. Honestly, like he was working in media, like you just mentioned. He took these jobs in the Premier League, which is obviously one of the most marketed leagues as well. And you're seeing him constantly. So people think, okay, he's a good coach. Which I'm not saying he's not. I just think when it comes to, tactics and stuff like that, I still don't believe that he's the right man for a lot of these countries.
Yeah, and this is a test for him because, okay, the Euro's disappointing. You have the we'll call it the ego, right, of Cristiano Ronaldo. Where it's overhanging. And me and Diego were talking before we started recording about how I was a supporter of starting Ronaldo pre-tournament. And then here's the issue. He wasn't half of the player that I thought he was going to be coming into the tournament because the friendlies leading up in his season he had in Saudi Arabia, he was productive. Like he was playing well. He was performing. I don't know what happened in this tournament. I don't know if the pressure of it being his last Euro, wanting to score, which I think that was pretty obvious. It affected the team negatively, and it was disappointing. And I'll eat my words in saying that.
So you think Martinez got manipulated by Ronaldo?
I just think that it's a difficult spot to be in, man. You have to have some cojones.
Yeah.
Like you can't. It's like.
Well, Jurgen did that. Well, hold on now. Let's play the scenario. Jurgen did that to Landon Donovan. And you look at the backlash of what happened.
Not even close to this. No disrespect to Landon Donovan. They're not even in the same atmosphere, bro. Like they're not on the same planet. No disrespect. Landon Donovan, all-time U.S. legend. We're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, the most famous person on planet Earth. A top 3, 5, whatever you want to put him, player of all time. One of the most prolific goal scorers of all time. This is way different.
Take that out of it for a second. Take out the best player of all time. Landon Donovan's our best player. And that's what matters, right? So you're talking about the best scorer in American history, the most successful player and probably the longest tenured player on that roster when it came to World Cup and international play, the most senior veteran guy of any of them. And then that doesn't get brought. And then the backlash is well, you're screwing over Landon. Now you give the guy the man. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a hell of a position to be in.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, though. As a coach, you got to make these.
No, that's true too.
You got to make these decisions. They're tough, but you're the coach for a reason. And I gotta agree with Mike. I think Roberto Martinez he didn't have the cojones to say, hey, look, I'm gonna sit you down. You're not gonna start. Maybe you start one game, maybe you start two. If you see it's not working, you got benched. You're getting benched, and you're gonna come in because obviously we know what you can do. We know what you can offer. You are a legend, obviously, like Mike said, one of the best goal scorers in the history of the game. So you're gonna use him, but you're just not. You're just not at the level where I need you to be in the starting 11.
I
And
think
it kills me
yeah.
to say, honestly, like of anything in any sport take I've ever had, I'm hanging on to my Ronaldo takes like for dear life, and I don't even know if I can anymore. I mean, the dude's from the same town as my mom, man. My mom grew up probably with his mom
Bias.
around this, like he's the same age as my brother. I think about that. I'm like, man, I'm basically family. I'm not, but it's just like that
You're
level
hoping
of
you're
pride
family.
and what he's brought to Portugal soccer, man. Like it's like when you grow up, both of my parents born there, both immigrants to this country, it's a level of pride that it can't be explained. It's just felt, right? And
Yeah.
so when you have a guy that has brought so much happiness to your life and is one of the most loved slash hated people on planet Earth, it's tough. It's tough to like be like, take a step back. So I put my neck out there for him and saying that I think he should be starting before the tournament. And I think ultimately, I don't think it was the only thing. I think Roberto also made a lot of other decisions
Yeah.
that were incorrect. Um, but when you put him side by side with a guy like Pep, who is 41 years old, and in that last match against France, played his ass, dude. Like I cried during the match. The match was still happening in that time where he got beat and then he chased. I forgot who the player was who he chased down, and he won the tackle. On the end line there, and then he looks up at the crowd and he screams. I felt a level of pride, like kind of like Luis Diaz last night. When anytime Luis Diaz was on the hunt, man, and he looks up and he's telling the crowd, "Let's go!" It's like you feel that in your bones, man. You feel like I got the chills right now. I'm about to do the Rock thing where he shows. Do you see the
It's
goosebumps? You see
slap
the
your
goosebumps
forearm.
there?
Slap your forearm.
Slap the arm, man. It's just you
Thank you.
can't compare that. But yeah, but to transition now, Diego, you were there last night. Colombia versus Uruguay, two South American giants. Like we said, two of the top teams, if not the top two teams of the tournament. What was that atmosphere like? It looked like you were in Colombia.
And it honestly, it looked like you were in Barranquilla, Colombia. It was all yellow. I mean, blue here and there, but it was all yellow. And man, the Colombians did not stop cheering. As soon as the national anthem came on, it was just from get go, boom, cheering. It was a great end. Obviously nerve wracking for them at some point, right? I'm sure we'll get into that, but yeah, the atmosphere was amazing, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: the game finishes 1-0. I think it's a stupid second yellow card for Colombia at the end of the first half. But the story of the game is what happened after, and it's amazing that if this happened in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, it'd be the top story everywhere and on every TV station
Wow.
today. It's amazing that it's not, but because we're
I've
Americans
seen
and
it
so
though.
it's been there, but not, listen, this was Malice at the Palace level insanity last night that you saw between Darwin Nunez, some other Uruguayan players, and the Colombian fans. And how we got there, there's going to be an investigation,
Right.
and there's a whole litany of things that we got to go through now to figure out exactly what happened in that moment. But Diego, did you see that like when it started to unfold last night
I,
when the
I
chaos started to erupt into the crowd?
Yeah, I did. I saw it, right? We quickly noticed when players started running in that direction. We were like, "What's going on?" Before that, I hadn't noticed. What was told, or what there's reports. Obviously, it's not confirmed yet. Is that some of the players had their families in that section, right? And I guess they were being harassed, and things got a little, and the players, I think, right, as a man, I would want to protect my family. However, yeah, there's obviously a line that needs to be drawn, maybe just getting him out or whatever. But so the rage of being eliminated, not playing a great game,
Well,
all
yeah,
builds into
but
that.
but were the families like put up in were the families put up in box suites, or did they just not think that that's not going to be a problem? Like, because it's amazing when you think about it. Like the players' families are in there in the
Yeah,
sea of yellow, and we're not just talking like it's a mix of blue and yellow last night. Like
yeah,
obviously, you watch the game, it's all Colombian fans.
yeah. I think someone dropped the ball there, whether it was CONMEBOL or
It's a
whether
lesson for
or
2026.
absolutely whether it was CONMEBOL or whether it was the Uruguayan Federation. I'm not, but if that truly is the case and the families were there, somebody dropped the ball because I just don't think any of the families should be around the fans, especially in those moments because you never know what could happen.
Yeah, and obviously you're talking about rivalries, South American rivalries, and South American football is such a fun. It's just so fun to watch because of the I don't. It's not hatred. It's just it's the level of rivalry, right?
Right.
It's there's a different level to it, where it just feels super passionate. The fan bases are passionate, and obviously it's a scary place. It's a scary place to be if you're. So I don't understand. I'm just curious to know now, given the more information that we've gotten, the fact that Darwin and some of the players from Uruguay felt as if their families were under attack, what type of punishment to expect? Like, you're a South American CONMEBOL expert. Have you seen something like this before? Maybe not so much where they're in the crowd, some fan interaction where there's suspensions, fines. Like, what happens next?
Yeah, I think this is the first time we see it to this extent. Obviously,
Yeah.
usually the families are in the suites, and fans can still talk to the families from the suites, and you know talk their crap or whatever, but it stays there, right? Because they can't get into the suites, and then the families don't come out of the suites. But this time they were in the crowd, so it's totally different. It's never been seen before, and sure, we've seen many players, talk their crap to fans. Fans talk their crap to the players. Fine, it's always been part of the game. But this time, I don't know, man. The last time I can remember something like this is Eric Cantona, Manchester United, when he drop kicked a fan. So
Yeah.
there's gotta be something done, right? Obviously, if it is all true, I understand a little bit, right? I understand a little bit, but at the same time, there has to be some type of punishment. I definitely believe that.
It's kind of eye-opening for 2026 too, because you think about the clashing of cultures that's going to happen when people come here, and I don't I don't know if necessarily American security forces understand how ultras work,
Yeah.
as we've saw in Germany, where they couldn't even the Germans, who if anybody knows confrontation and fighting and having to deal with people going crazy, it's the Germans.
They have some experience.
And yeah, they have some experiences. I mean, barely able to control the Dutch and the British fans before Euro semifinals. So it's like, and then you have, I think it was like the French fans after the Spain game were jumping out of the crowd and kicking the Spain players. It's going to be very interesting to see how security tightens things up in these stadiums and around the cities for these events, because you don't want to lose the soul of the passion of the game, but at the same time, I think you're seeing glaring security issues all over the place. And soccer, and if there's any sport where the fans get a little frisky and fun, if you will, it's definitely soccer, where they feel like they have the intestinal fortitude to take on a lot of these guys, and they get up close to them, and now they can't.
I definitely gotta agree with you there. This is the second Copa America match that I've been, and I'll be at the final as well. But so far, the first
Nice.
the first two that I've been to, I definitely feel like maybe security or maybe just the event staff were not prepared for what it is, right? Like Mike said, it's different. It's different, and not just on the field, right? On the field, yeah, we get more aggressiveness. It's literally like a war, and I think even the CAF sides complained about how there was no calls. And the thing is, in Comebol in the qualifiers, if you watch some of those like light fouls, they'll never get called. Never get called. They'll tell you, play. And off the field is just the amount of people, the amount of, I don't want to say rowdiness because it's just passion. People singing, people jumping. They want hear them, feel them, and that's something that I think they weren't ready for.
No,
Yeah.
it's yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
good.
and it's sad because that shouldn't be the story. The story should be Colombia down a man for 45 plus minutes. Were able to hold off a powerful offense in Uruguay. James Rodriguez, who a lot of people probably have written off at this point in his career, right? I mean, right. But he puts on that Colombia shirt, and he is James from 2014, if not better. 6 assists now in the tournament. To me, player of the tournament, which makes me really, really hope that they win because I think he's the most deserving of it regardless. This could be like a Connor McDavid situation where he wins, he didn't win the Stanley Cup, but he won the MVP. He's been amazing. And even last night, it was one of those games where Colombia came out hot. They looked really good. He wasn't super involved. And then Uruguay kind of battled back and we're on fire there. James had a great set piece that they just missed, earned a corner. And then that corner, his set pieces are just like, it's like he puts a ball in a string to his teammate's head. It's just fantastic. Tell me about the resurgence of James Rodriguez and why is he a different player when that Colombia shirt is on?
Bro, I gotta agree with you. Going into this tournament, my biggest doubt in Colombia was James. Basically because we all know after 2014, went to Real Madrid, did okay there. Then he just kind of like fell off little by little, just kept falling off. What happened is as soon as their new coach came in, Nestor Lorenzo, he took a flight to I don't remember right now, in the Middle East where he was playing, and told him, look, I want to build this team around you, but you need to get out of here. I need you playing top level football. I need you to show me that you're not the player that everyone's talked about, right? Because a lot of people wrote him off as diva, and I think since coming back with this new coach Nestor Lorenzo, he's proven that he is now ready to be the leader of this team. Just yesterday, when they were down 10 men, doing some of the dirty work, having to go back, before he would never go back. Now he's going back, trying to fight for every ball. Then going to every player, each and every one of his players and telling them good job or whatever. You saw at the end of the game, there was two chances that Colombia had. Mateus Uribe missed both, or one was saved by the keeper, the other one was missed. He goes up to him right at the end of the whistle. And obviously I'm not there. I don't know what he said, but he gave him a hug, gave him a kiss. And he was like, tapped him on the head.
Reassurance.
Like, exactly. Reassurance. Like, don't worry about it. Like, whatever, you did what you had to do. And that was something that I think we wouldn't have seen from James back in 2014 or even before. And now he is a leader.
And it's been evident. I mean, this is a team that seems to go as he goes. I mean, there's talent. I think they are going to miss Munoz out on the wing because he was a dynamic player for them. That's going to hurt for sure against Argentina. Just take us through that a little bit because you were there, obviously high intensity, semifinal match. The first foul was a clear yellow. That one seemed pretty, not smart on his behalf, especially from where it was on the field. It wasn't necessary. And then the elbow, the second one probably could have been a direct red. What's going on through his head? Do you strike? Is this typical of him, or is this something that was just kind of heat of the moment? He lost his cool.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Munoz is his best asset is also his worst asset is his aggressiveness. He's a warrior on the field. He's going and giving 100 each time, right? And I agree with you. That first foul was just dumb. Honestly, it was dumb, especially like you said, on the part of the field, like it was just a dumb yellow to get. Then the other one, yeah, it was a yellow, but then man. That like I said, he is a fighter. He is a fighter, and so I think Uruguay knew that, got to his head, and he reacted. A childish foul, yeah. Honestly, a childish foul. Hopefully, he can learn from that because from what we've seen defensively and in attack, he's a threat. But yeah, that was a foul, and it should have been a red.
Yeah, it's a crazy way to finish a first half that you felt like Colombia was in complete control, and then all of a sudden you give the game back a little bit. But then in the second half, it felt like Uruguay, and I don't know, maybe I'm like half watching it too because I'm like half asleep at that time. But it felt like Uruguay just died out in that second half. They didn't feel just spurts here and there where I felt like it was challenging, but for the most part, it didn't feel like Colombia lost control of the game, and it didn't feel like Colombia was going to lose the game. It just between the crowd. The way this team has been playing coming into that game, it didn't matter if there was 9 men on the field. Yeah. Uruguay wasn't winning.
There was at one point.
My biggest problem with Uruguay has been their inconsistency in the final third, right? I think Darwin Nunez is a great player. Nobody can deny that. But I think he needs like 15 chances to score one. And in this tournament, we saw that a lot. a lot.
Oh
You saw that a
yeah.
lot yesterday, I felt like.
Yeah.
I remember that when he was on Benfica, man. The dude did the same thing. It was the same thing. He would need 15 chances to score one. But the thing is, even last night, he took what, 5, 6 shots?
Yeah.
Were any of them on target? I don't even know if he had one on target.
No.
They were good looks.
They were good looks, but
Great looks.
But no, not one on target. And I don't even think it was him that hit the post. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but someone hit the post. And
Suarez hit the post.
Suarez hit the post. Suarez hit the post, and there was one more
Suarez
in
hit
the
the
first
post,
half.
and they had another one.
In the first half. I think, back to your point, I think this Colombia team, I said it in an episode that I did with Andy. I think just written, and I'll tell you why. Because, like I said, in the history of football, of soccer, there's been 4 teams that have gone on unbeaten runs twice, right? Algeria, Italy, Argentina, and now Colombia. This is their second time that they've gone on an unbeaten run. Every time that those teams have gone on their second unbeaten run, they've always surpassed their first one. Yesterday, before this game, they were at 27. They tied their last unbeaten run 27. And I told everyone, I was like, this is gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. You're gonna surpass it, and now they did. 28 games.
Yeah, and heading into Sunday, to me, they're my pick. I don't, hopefully I'm not jinxing them by anything, but I'm confident in just the way that they've been playing, the passion that they're playing with. And I think this will be Argentina's first real test. And listen, Canada looked all right in both matches in group play, and then they're in the semifinals against Argentina. They can be it's just
that first game really exposed Argentina, I felt like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, for sure. And they missed opportunities too. Like, they could have had a few more that they didn't get, which would have made the score a little bit more, not as close. But I think that Colombia, their biggest crutch, or what's going to be their downfall, if there is one, which I don't think there will be, can they keep their cool? Can they, because we know the whistles, they tend to like number 10 over there in light blue and white, all right? They tend to follow him a little bit. So it's a matter of whether or not they can keep their cool. I don't think it's a team you can go down to 10 men against. You don't want dudes playing with yellow cards all over the field. So for you, Diego, what do you think about this final on Sunday? And, do you think Colombia can pull it off?
I think Canada laid down the blueprint to how they can be beaten, right? The blueprint, because I still have they laid down the blueprint in how they should attack them. Now, Colombia's obviously done way better at finishing. I think, like you said, Colombia has been playing the best football in this tournament. I think the fans are on their side. It's just everything is just the way it's going for them. This is their tournament to lose. I feel like Argentina. I feel like haven't been great.
Wins? Yeah.
Who wins?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but who wins the crowd game on Sunday, do you think? Who shows up more? Because the Colombian fans, I'll be honest, it has shocked me how Colombia has taken over like every American stadium this year, and what's going to happen in 2026 is going to be remarkable. I feel like Colombia.
Look at Andy alone. Andy's been to every freaking game. This guy's got more frequent flyer miles than I've ever met.
This is the one time that I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the fan bases are going to go, because the Argentinian fans also are pretty good at traveling, and it's in Miami. There's a lot of Argentinians there. But I know the Colombians right now are traveling everywhere. So I think it will definitely be more 50-50. It won't be a sea of yellow this time. I think you'll be able to see Argentinians or vice versa. Honestly, I don't know, but I think that's what I'm excited for, to see the atmosphere, to see how many fans are going to be. But I think this is Colombia's to lose.
I like that. And I think we're right there with you. Now, the other tournament happening on the other side of the pond, the Euros, we have another final between a team that we really, really like, that we think has been the best team in the tournament in Spain. I think we can agree on that. And then a team that, like usual, gets a little overhyped, has pretty much underperformed, but has had kind of the easier road to the final here with England. What do you think about this match? Do you think that Spain's firepower, their youth, their speed is going to be too much for England to handle, or do you think this is going to be a little more balanced than we expect?
A final's a final, right? I feel like everyone, they always go into that mentality change and fight for it for their lives. But based on what we've seen from England, I mean, I think we've seen even less from them than we've seen from Argentina in Copa America. So is definitely favorites, and definitely what they've shown electrifying from the kids on the wings, especially Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal have been outstanding. So now, can England hold that back? Question. But yeah, I think Spain have this too. I think this is also Spain's to lose, based on what we've seen.
What'd you make of that penalty called on Dumfries for the
Terrible
Netherlands?
call.
Oh, I thought it was a
Because
terrible pass.
you thought it was a terrible call? Because here's how I saw it.
Yeah,
Anytime you go in with your studs out, your leg out, right? It's gonna get called. I mean, it's gonna get called, even if it's on
Back
a
up a
follow
second.
through.
Did Saka handle the ball beforehand?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, yes. If you want to break it
Okay,
down,
so then VAR is useless.
that's what
I
I
agree
thought
with
too.
that. That part I agree with.
That's the obviously I agree with you on the fact that studs up, legs up, like cool, that's a foul wherever you're playing. But there was a play before that didn't, and that's my problem with VAR in general for both of these tournaments. Like it's there for a reason, and we don't even use it efficiently. So why are we going to use it anyways? I feel.
Right.
Yeah, and it still sometimes leaves us with questions. It's like, do we even know what a handball is still? Because even with the VAR, they review it and they come back like, what was it? Cucurella, against who was that against? Germany.
Germany. Yep. Yeah.
That was against Germany.
Spain got bailed out.
That was a clear handball. I mean, in what world is that not a handball? And they reviewed it. They used VAR on that, and they were like, not a handball. I'm like, what? How? So what is the point of this damn thing?
The only thing I can say to that one, that handball, which I also agree, it was a clear handball, is that UEFA before the tournament started, they did hold like the journalist, and they said pretty much if your hand is in a natural position, then it's not going to be considered a handball. And I was like, okay.
I mean, his hand was. I don't walk around like Johnny Bravo often. It's like.
And so it's to me, it's like, and they use similar explanation or example, and it was literally just the same thing as Cucurella one, and I was like, that's why I won't understand, because the rules keep ever changing for each tournament or each year, and it's just
crazy.
Like, let's go back to what it is. Handball is a handball, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Shoulder down. I mean, below the shoulder, handball, regardless of where it is, man. It is what it is. Yeah, it's wild, but it should make it's gonna
natural position. I don't just real quick. I don't hate the natural position thing. Like if your hand is like, if you're trying to like defend away from the ball and you turn away from it and you make an effort to turn away from the ball and use your body,
right? But
I mean that's one thing. But if your hand is,
Go ahead, Diego. No, I agree with you. I think once your hand is like
extension,
once
you see any type of extension, that's an easy one.
Yeah, I agree.
Wild. We'll never get. I feel like that's something that'll never be resolved. We're just gonna be living in that question for life.
Yeah, I'll just ask you both about the refereeing in general. It feels like the referees in these games, for the most part, are in over their heads. Do you agree?
I think in the Copa has been more so than the Euro.
I mean,
but
you got
yeah,
the Peruvian guy, the 32-year-old, that's under investigation now.
I honestly don't know how he got called to be a ref for the Copa America, because he's under investigation in Peru because he's been so bad. So I really don't understand what's the credentials that they're going for, calling up some refs that they're being investigated in their own countries. Like, what are we doing here? But I agree, like the refereeing in Copa America, some of them, I won't say all of them, but some of them, and I think a large part of them has just been some obvious calls. I don't understand the criteria anymore, and many times.
So, all right, final stamp on this before we move on to the big news domestically here. Your final is what?
For a Copa America,
your winners for each final.
Yeah,
your winner for each final.
Yeah, I think Colombia's taking Copa America, and I think Spain's taking Euros.
Yeah. You want to put a declarative on it, or are you gonna just say it for Twitter?
What,
Michael?
Me?
Yeah. You want to say
I agree. I've said that. I think I've said it on X already. I've said Colombia for a couple weeks now, and same thing with Spain. I said I think Spain and Germany were the two best teams in the Euros, and whoever won that was going to win the Euro Cup. That was my stance on it.
I kind of feel like this has been like the great escape for Gareth Southgate, and he's gotten lucky all along the way here. So I'm going to be different and just say Colombia and England. So just to be different, no more than that, really.
There you go. Fair enough.
It's 50-50 going into Sunday, really, between those two teams. All right, back here. Greg Berhalter. We talked about it with Eric Winalda on Tuesday earlier this week. He said that they couldn't outright fire him. And I had people reach out to me after the fact and go, well, Winalda was wrong. And I'm like, wasn't really wrong. Because if you listen to the interview, he said Berhalter's too expensive. So if you take those two statements and you kind of deduce what happened, there was a payout. And the numbers are all over the place. I'm not even going to try to speculate on the numbers. I'm not tight enough with the people up there. But what I will say is that it kind of feels like they couldn't fire him just because they didn't want to pay him out. And, I will take Eric for his word that he knows about how much money we're losing as a federation. But, Greg didn't walk away poor, to say.
Yeah. He did also say that they were working on an exit plan. Like, he did say that you can't, maybe he didn't use the term fire, but he mentioned that they're financially figuring out how to make it work to let him go.
Correct.
Because of all of the financial, aspects of the federation and whatever. But he did say that, they're more than likely it's going to happen. And when it does, they're going to, hire from within until they find a long-term solution.
What is that long-term solution? So.
I think the U.S. Federation has had a problem here from the get-go, right? As soon as you didn't extend his contract back when, before the stuff with the Reina family happened and all that, like, you didn't extend his contract, cool. You did a whole search, right? We went through this whole search looking for a new coach to just hire the man back. Where's the planning? For me, where's the planning? Like, you're supposed to be doing this even before that timeline comes into play. With Berhalter, I think at the time he was the right coach. I think now, from what I've seen, I don't see a clear idea of play. And that, I think, is what's missing. Because you can't tell me that the U.S. doesn't have talent, right? They do. I think they do. But I just don't see a clear idea of play right now.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think that's what's gonna, a good manager makes a big difference. And I think it's for soccer, it means more so than most sports because of, especially the international level, because you usually have a much larger pool of players to choose from. You got to choose the right ones first and foremost. That's your first job, is making sure you're choosing the correct ones. But then also you're choosing the correct ones that are going to fit the tactics that you want to bring. So you can't carry certain wing backs if your plan is to have them get involved in the attack, but they are more defensive. Like, you don't carry many of those or whatever. So I think that's kind of part of the issue with Berhalter is, we saw it in the World Cup by his lack of using Gio Reyna, which we found out a little bit more about that. But to us from the outside, it seemed like that was a no-brainer. He's a play creator. He's a dynamic guy. He's performing well at such a young age. And, who are they going to bring in that has the tactical advantage, the knowledge of the U.S. soccer enough to be able to select the correct team and then to go and put it together on the field? That to me should be their answer, because we haven't seen that probably since Jurgen.
Which is why it's probably not going to be Jurgen Klopp, for what it's worth.
Definitely not. Why would he take that job? Why would he leave Liverpool? And then the name keeps getting thrown around, and I'm like, why would he leave Liverpool and come take on this absolute
The money. If the money's good enough,
he get paid at Liverpool. He would get,
and Messi could have gotten paid going back to Barcelona.
But Messi is a whole lifestyle thing he wanted. He wanted the deal with MLS, Adidas, living in Miami. He already had a house there. There's a whole different. Jurgen Klopp, there's no reason for him to come coach the United States. And honestly,
let me put this out there. If they put together a Messi deal for Jurgen Klopp, do you think he says no?
He's not Messi. Nobody's paying to go see Jurgen Klopp on the sideline.
Right now, Messi to American soccer fans. Us three know that there are other managers that can come in here and probably do something. But guess what? Americans only want sexy. And guess what?
Until it doesn't work.
That's true too.
How do you know it's not gonna work?
Jurgen Klinsmann had a stake here. He did media. He was on ESPN. He had an idea of what American culture is, in he changed a lot of what U.S. soccer. Honestly, they kind of already reverted back to what happened before he was here, which is sad. But he changed a lot of the way U.S. soccer was handled. You have more dual citizenship people choosing to play here. And I think he is a big person that's responsible for that. I think you need to find somebody that's there, like has an understanding or some type of life here, and or a connection here, and wants to help build. Am I right here, Diego? I want to get your take on
No,
this.
absolutely, absolutely. I think you were right on point with what Jurgen Klinsmann did back in when he was appointed coach. I think that was the first step, bringing in the dual players. I think from the academy, the lower levels, better. And when he was here, yeah, maybe there was a little bit more clear idea of play. I think now there's more talent. Um, but I think again he set that framework, and now you need somebody that can build on that. Who is that? I don't know. I don't think Jurgen Klopp is the answer, though. I understand that Americans will want him because of the name, and I guess right now because yeah, he left Liverpool and now he's taking a year. But we all know that he's got people calling him already for next year. Like, hey, this. So I just don't think that he would want to come here right. Um, as far as names right now, Roberto Martinez. No, I'm playing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, take him, have him.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know right now. You'd have to look.
It's going to be a bland American. It's going to be a Steve Cherundolo type. I mean, I think we should be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be anything overly sexy. If the financials are what Eric Winalda has laid it out to us as, where you're almost in the red,
Yeah.
you're going to get a guy that's not going to be very expensive. I mean, what are the odds that B.J. Callahan gets pulled out of Nashville and put back into the U.S. system? You know, like it feels like any U.S. guy is on the table.
I think the Federation also, for the most part, tries to play it safe. Because if not, I think
Yes.
they would have taken Tata before, right? I don't think the excuse of him not speaking too much English or whatever, like, is a
Doesn't
valid
matter.
excuse.
We're a Duolingo country.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, I don't care if you speak Portuguese, Spanish, like whatever it is. Like, even if you have translators.
And all these players are playing in European countries where they speak Spanish anyways. All these,
Right.
I mean, it's the majority. It's the language of the game for the most part.
Right. Absolutely.
Weird spot to be in, and not a lot of time to figure it out. World Cup will be here in less than 2 years, and you're not just you don't want to bring in somebody that's going to show up just before that starts. You're going to want them to establish themselves. So I think the next match is what against? Is it Canada? The friendly at the beginning of September.
It's Canada in September, but then you got another competition too. You got Gold Cup coming up next summer, so it's not like you don't have, a schedule ahead here for them to go, something to go after going into this World Cup. So
yeah, Gold Cup to them is like, can we beat Mexico? That's basically what it comes down to.
Sure, but you know what? After this embarrassment, can they?
That's a good point.
I don't know who
Can they beat Canada?
I don't know who could beat who. I was going to say, I don't know if Mexico or U.S. could beat each other, honestly, right now. I think Canada definitely showed something. I think even Panama and Costa Rica surprised me because when Keylor Navas announced his retirement, I said, man, this team's not going to do good in Copa America. But they surprised me. I think they did fairly well for what they got, and so did Panama for what they got, right? I think they can now put up fights. I'm not saying they're going to go and win Gold Cup or anything like that, man to man.
They're not the worst teams in CONCACAF anymore.
No.
Even Jamaica, the Reggae Boys now, the CONCACAF region has gotten much tougher, and I believe we've gotten softer as a nation. I think Bruce Arena, when he was on the Golato show with Kate Abdo and everybody, talked about character, and he talked about how the mental toughness is not there with this team. It's not.
No.
I mean, those guys coasted under Greg, which is why they liked Greg.
Yeah.
There was nobody that, I thought Carly Lloyd put it perfect. I thought Carly Lloyd put it perfectly, though, when she said that when we won, we hated our coaches. You don't have to love the guy you're playing for, but if they're getting the best out of you, that's all I care about. Nobody says you have to be best friends with these people. It's a business. It's not a friendship.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree.
To an extent, you don't want to hate your coach, but you want to have a level of respect. They're not your friend, especially training and everything. They're not supposed to be your friend because you're supposed to be, as a manager, you're supposed to be critical. You're supposed to make tough decisions and
create an environment that challenges your players.
But you also have to be supportive. There's a balance. There's a balance there. You can't just be like, I hate playing for this jerk, even though he brings the best out of me. There's a balance of respect because you also want to win for that person, for yourself and for your country or club. but also for your manager for the work that they put in all year round, because you're scouting, you're doing things, even the very short off season that soccer has. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer after Sunday, because once these tournaments are over, all eyes are going to be on trying to figure out what the hell happens there. And I know you said, Diego, what do you drive? You driving back down to Florida?
I'm driving back down to Miami. It was the ticket the flights were crazy. I didn't get because the company I'm working for right now covering these games, they didn't approve of this. They didn't approve me for this game till like 2 days before. And so when I looked at flights, it was like, no way. So I was like, I'll drive down, and we drove up with a couple people, so it was easy. It wasn't bad.
That's not too bad.
No.
Yeah, it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
Oh, miserable. You stop it. 10 hours in a car. I hate car rides. I hate
maybe
long car
today.
rides. I get it.
Maybe today.
Ugh.
Maybe today after
You guys
after
were
last
partying all night, so yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
today's
late.
got to be
I
rough.
can't even say a late night. It was early morning for you guys, I guess.
Absolutely. I
Well,
think,
the videos. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no. I was gonna say absolutely. I think if these guys are ready to party right now, I think they're on a high. I get it. I get it. If it was my country, I probably would too.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
100%.
the Colombians
man.
have definitely thrown the best party of the summer so far, and that's why again I go back and I say they're probably going to travel the heaviest in 2026 because they first off, how many Colombian families live in America, right? And the demographics, and I mean Mexico, the United States, Canada, they'll all be knocked out when the games start mattering anyways. So you think about the teams that are going to be remaining in the knockout rounds, and teams that are going to travel well and do well in these stadiums. I think the Dutch will do well in America in 2026. Colombia, the Germans, the English. Yeah, it's kind of see it. Argentina, Brazil.
For sure. There's definitely a couple that will definitely travel, and that's another thing that I think the U.S. needs to be ready for. Because last night we went out, they weren't ready for the amount of people that were in there ordering bottles and all that stuff.
Oh, so the restaurants weren't ready. The restaurants weren't ready, is what you're saying.
It was crazy.
I believe that.
Yeah,
100%. 100% believe that.
they weren't ready.
Anything else that you want to add on this on these tournaments before we start looking ahead to the Olympics and Leagues Cup? Because that's pretty much what comes next. I mean, you can wallow in misery and be a United States fan and just yell into an echo chamber for 6 hours, but I have too much agita after this summer. But is there anything else that sticks out to you from these past couple of weeks?
I think it's just a great test run for what's to come, right? 2026 World Cup.
Right.
We got to be ready for it.
It's a preview for sure.
It's a preview for sure, and there's definitely a lot of work to be done, because I think that there's been a couple things that I just don't understand. Event security, or how the press was handled for Copa America, or like charging $28 for a peanut butter jelly for press. It's like crazy stuff.
Hell?
Crazy
Charging
stuff.
the press for food?
Absolutely.
Damn,
Wow.
that better be the best peanut butter. That better give me like anti-hangover chemicals in there or something.
Directly from Skippy. I want it directly from the
I
factory
want
of
Skippy
Skippy.
to deliver it to me themselves for $20. Damn.
I don't think I even see peanut butter on the shelves for $20. Wow, yeah, so that's eye-opening. And then you know what? The other thing I think that's interesting too is, what does Major League Soccer do? Have they announced what their schedule is going to look like during the summer of 2026? Because
Hiatus.
there's no way in hell.
Yeah,
there's no way in hell that. But you know what? It's MLS. They're playing right now during Copa.
Yeah.
And Don Garber, let's take it from his perspective. You have all these international people over here from England, from the Netherlands. They only watch MLS through a screen. If you're Don Garber and you got, let's say, for example, I think, or, just take Atlanta for a second. You have Mercedes-Benz Stadium as a host site for a World Cup game, on a Wednesday. Who's to say that on a Saturday you don't have Atlanta United versus Montreal in there? Does Don Garber look at that and say, this is a cash grabbing moment for us?
The fields, though. That's something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
You know,
tough.
do you think the fields can handle it? I mean, has it been spread out enough?
From what I've seen, no. I mean, again, it also depends on have and all that, but like I think I think having a turf field and laying grass on top of it hasn't been the answer. From what I've seen, like it's just
No.
it
No, it looks slippery.
looks people like I spoke to one of the players from Colombia. He's like, oh, like you definitely feel more of it on your knee, and as a soccer
Yeah,
player, you gotta protect those knees.
especially starting and stopping and everything. We'll see. We got a couple years to figure it out. It's going to be an interesting ride between now and then. But Diego, man, safe travels back down to
Yeah,
Miami.
thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, man, this was awesome. To live from Charlotte, live from Guado last night. Listen, I seen the empty bottles. I didn't see a drop left in any of them. So I know the boys went hard last night. But I'm gonna keep a bottle of Guado on ice for Sunday, so when Colombia lifts the Copa America, I can take a nice shot like I'm back with all my boys. But man, thank you for doing this. Enjoy the game on Sunday. You're gonna be able to watch the Euro final before.
We're gonna try. I'm definitely gonna try. I know
Yeah.
I gotta do some work. Usually head to the stadium a little early, but hopefully at least get to watch the first half, and then maybe second half I'll be doing some work.
Have you
Well,
been keeping up with the Revolution at all?
A little bit, not too much since I've been down in
Yeah.
Miami now. Obviously this summer national pretty much, and then we'll head back to transfer rumors and Europe and all that. But it's been amazing though, to be honest. This summer
Yeah.
is been incredible. Just waking up and having game after game. I
so
know,
good.
it's all good for us. I know our wives are tired of it and all that.
Oh yeah, no, she's done. She like listen, she's about to push a baby out, dude. She's like, if I have to watch any more soccer after Sunday,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a single mom. That's what she said. I'm like, all right, I'll listen to.
After Sunday,
I
that's
got
it.
you.
Yeah, that's it, right?
That's it, man.
So
It's over
it's been incredible for
till
us
football season.
as fans, as people that work in this industry. Um, Definitely, it's nice to get a little break after this, though. Because it is a lot, right? It is a lot of travel or work. You don't go and work 8 hours. You're there at the stadium like 12, 13 hours trying to get mix zone, press conference, all that stuff. But it's what we love, so I can't complain. I love it, and yeah, can't wait for next summer.
Thanks, Diego, for coming on today. Diego Montalvan, plug your social media, plug where people can find you.
Yes, sir. My social media is D Montalvan on X and on Instagram, all that good stuff. So yeah, man, thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure to come talk about what's been going on this summer and last night's semifinal. That was crazy. And yeah, now we got the final coming up, so I can't wait.
Let's
All
go.
right, so follow Diego for a front row seat. You got the Revs in Orlando this weekend. They're doing a Disney themed tailgate party, so you know where to find me this Saturday. Bye.